Hello, everyone. Um, we're doing this again, another live. Uh, it sounded like there were some people that, were concerned about missing these lives, but just as a reminder, these get posted, they live longer than just this live. I appreciate those of you that do take the time to come in and submit your questions and also give your mind and your hearts the opportunity to take in this information. I'm honored you're taking the time out of your life to be here for these conversations and to be present while we talk about things that are not as fun filled as is a hot dog a sandwich, but very important because we're talking about humanity and people and lives. And there's something really robust about getting into the minutia of the human experience together. So thank you for your presence. Today we have someone really special that I'm thrilled is going to be here and talking with us. Jarrett Harper is someone that I had a conversation with and was just moved, so incredibly moved. So I'm going to see if he's ready. There we go. Okay, here we go. Oh, the thrills of Instagram lives. Hi.
Hey, Brie, how are you?
Where are you? Are you in the desert?
No, I'm not, but I love this picture. It's one of my favorite pictures.
It's amazing.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm really excited to talk with you today. How are you? How's your head? How's your heart?
Man, I'm well. I'm well, no complaints. I woke up, I went into my normal routine. I prayed, I meditated, I got me a great workout in, so I'm well.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm well.
Great. I kind of did the same thing, except it was more of a moving meditation. I just kind of went outside and like looked at a ladybug for a while and noticed what new flowers are blooming and just trying to take the time to just go like, and this, presence as best as I
Absolutely.
can this time.
Absolutely.
So, so with that said, I'd love if you don't mind saying in your own words a little bit about yourself and where you were, where you are, and kind of
Yeah.
set up this conversation.
Absolutely. So, I'm Jarrett Harper. Thanks for introducing me. Thanks for having me here. I mean, it's a gift. It's a pleasure. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. A little bit about me. At the age of 16, I was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, plus 10 years. That sentence meant that I would die in prison. I was told by a judge that I was irreparable and that um, I should not walk amongst the community again. At a really young age, I was taken advantage of. I come from um, trauma. My existence uh, came from, you know, a horrible act. My mother was raped. Um, myself and my brother are the product of that. We were placed into the foster care system um, at 16 months old for myself and my brother at birth. I was born in Flint, Michigan. And I ended up in multiple abusive foster homes. At the age of 6, I met the neighborhood bike repairman, and he befriended me. He was like a father to me. I had been getting moved from home to home, and when he befriended me, he provided me everything that I was missing. I didn't have a mother, I didn't have a father, but I had him,
Mm-hmm.
and that was everything. Um, he knew that my home was broken. He knew that I lived in a home full of well, filled with foster children. And one night after getting abused, I ran to his house, which his home was my safe place. And all the love and happiness he 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 took that from me. All that became shame and pain and hurt and harm when he molested me, and that went on until I was 13. As I got older, I had a lot of issues as a kid. I really couldn't talk about it. He wasn't someone who I was fearful of. He wasn't someone who I considered a monster. He was someone that I loved. He was
Mm,
someone that I cared about. So to protect him was to protect myself.
mm,
Um, it wasn't until he did the same thing to my younger brother that that I began to actually feel a different way about him. And at the age of 16, you know, I regretfully took his life, and that's the reason why I was placed into prison. You know, I went to prison, and at that time, you know, I needed to be separated from not only society, but I needed to be placed in a place that was going to provide me with safety. You know,
mm,
where that was, I didn't know at that time. I was a kid. But when I look back, I knew that I was harmed, you know, not just by him, but by the foster care system and now by the criminal justice system.
mm,
So I went to prison for 20 years. I recently got out a little less than a year ago. And for me to get out, I had to literally transform my life, who I am today.
mm,
I had to transform into me. I had to actually get honest about the harms and the hurt and the things that took place in my life. You know, just being a foster kid, that in itself um, was the worst. I felt like I was thrown away. You know, my mother didn't want me, my father didn't want me, no one wanted me. I belonged to a court system, and knowing that and feeling that harmed me along the way to where I was a real destructive kid. I was an angry kid, and all those issues I took into prison. Um,
mm,
Luckily, I didn't join a gang. I didn't use drugs. I didn't fall victim to all the things um, that are easily accessible inside of an institution like that. I tapped into my humanity and I began to see that I committed a horrible wrong, and it was a must that I change my life. So that's what I did. Um, I didn't
mm,
just do time in prison. I utilized the time in prison to grow and change. And as I began to do that, so many harms and hurts that I had, they began to come out. And
mm,
then I began to address them, and then I began to heal. And I began to help people, right? That same remorse and guilt that lived inside of me, it became fuel to
mm,
serve other people. So I began to help the men inside of prison change
mm,
their lives. I began to help them, you know, connect to their humanity and understand that just because we were raised a certain way, or we came from a certain community, doesn't make that us.
mm.
It doesn't, right? We have the power of choice. Um, and you know, Viktor Frankl, one of my
Yeah,
good
one of
friends,
my
one
favorite books.
yeah, not too long ago, I was just talking to one of my good friends, and we were talking about Viktor Frankl, and one of
Man
the
for Meaning, for those that
man,
want great, great read.
great book. That book changed my existence.
Mine too.
Right, I didn't understand the power of choice because someone else always had the choice to put me somewhere that I didn't want to be, and
Mm,
I couldn't wrap my young brain around what was taking place. But as I aged, as I grew, I understood, you know, the privilege of choice, you know, and the power of choice. And
mm,
I began to help men see that while inside. And after about 15 years, John Legend came into prison. Um, um, Different organizations such as Loyola Law School and Human Rights Watch, all these organizations came to my aid because they saw my humanity, they saw my change. When John Legend and Ty Sticklorius came in, they actually granted me mercy by supporting me. And
mm,
they went to the governor and they petitioned on behalf of my life, right? And I was released, and now I work at Friends at Work, and I'm also an ambassador for Represent Justice. And with Represent Justice, what we do, we actually engage audiences such as you, in your audience, in hopes to create that awareness when it comes to issues that plague our society, that
mhm,
that that actually no longer serve us in a way that's
mm,
productive, right?
mm,
It's actually we actually speak towards those systems that strip um, the humanity out of our society. So those are just some of the different things that I'm doing, a little bit of who I am, and yeah, so
Thank you. Thank you. And
absolutely,
the when you said, about being wanted and not feeling wanted, it's amazing to hear you say that because I see someone who just is with themselves and understands the wanting is with us, not with anything external. And so thank you for that.
absolutely,
I feel that groundedness in you, and I just appreciate that, and being in witness to that is very powerful.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
so, what another aspect of your life that uh, I find so important for us to be here and talk about is to give that perspective of an example of a life of a person who is incarcerated currently, um, because uh, can you give can you give a little bit of a slice of life into what it is like to be incarcerated at this time, so that um, I think we're having two conversations at once. Really, we're having a conversation about this moment, about
yeah.
how this virus is affecting those that are in this contained space,
Hmm.
and we're also talking about the future. It's not just about this present moment that we're talking about. We're talking about a lot of people that feel forgotten, feel disregarded, feel that they've just been disposed of, or that their community, their country has given up on them. So, if you could just give me a little bit about, that what it's like inside, and how that relates to this virus right now and the threats that everyone inside is facing.
Yeah. So if I back it up just a little bit,
Yeah.
one of my worst fears, or my greatest fear, was dying inside of a California state prison.
Mm.
Right? I watched it over the course of my incarceration. I watched guys who had served 30, 40, 50 years. Um, Even after changing, there was no mercy, right? And I felt like that was going to be, my destiny, or it was my destiny, because I had a sentence that said that I would never ever walk among society again. Um, when I think about that, I think about, I'm grateful I'm not inside of an institution anymore. But more of my life was spent inside of an institution than out here with you.
Mm.
So I know that environment really well. I know where the gaps are at
Mm.
in the foster care system, in the criminal justice system, and even within side of prisons, right? That that's that's where I grew up, inside of these systems. Um, some of the things that are taking place inside of prison that actually goes against social distancing and staying safe is actually quarantining, right? I was quarantined multiple times while in prison, and I'm grateful that I never contracted anything, but I know what that's like to be quarantined inside of a restroom with another human being for 24 hours a day, to be fed through a tray slot, um, to be treated as though I was nothing more than 3 meals a day to keep me alive,
Mm.
and then to give it to an individual through a tray slot, it it harmed my psyche, but I was able to overcome. And a lot of people in prison are having issues with the finality of COVID-19 within the California state prison system. There is no way to social distance, right? Everything inside of an institution is communal, right? Each institution has 4 or 5 thousand people, and each facility has 1,000 people on probably 1 acre, right? So there's not a lot of space to social distance. You don't have hand sanitizer. When everyone said we should use hand sanitizer, I thought to myself, that's great, but the residents inside, they make it, but they're not allowed to possess it because it's considered contraband due to the alcohol content. So what we have out here in society as a safety mechanism, to stop the spread of COVID-19. It's actually it's actually a security risk for people inside, right? To actually possess it. It's considered contraband. So those are just some of the things that are taking place. But again, there's no there's no there's no place for an individual, excuse me, inside of an institution to go and be safe, right? The water faucet everyone uses, the shower everyone uses. There's 200 people in a building, and there's only 6 showers, so everyone showers in 6 showers. There's 4 phones. Everyone uses those phones to call their family. So the spread of COVID-19, it's really going to go quickly because there's no way for you to do anything by yourself. You have to do everything together. And then, not to mention, we also have the guards, the nurses, the
Mm-hmm.
doctors, the plumbers, right? We have so many people that go into our institutions, um, and then they come out and they go back to their families and they go to the grocery stores and they go to doctors and they bring it back out. Once it spreads inside of an institution, it's really hard to contain um, a virus like this when you have what, 117,000 people inside of our prison system, right? We can see that COVID-19 is spreading at a rate that is unlike any other place. When we just look at the numbers, there's 25,000 people right now inside of institutions with COVID-19. In California right now, there's a little under 700 people, and we just had an outbreak at one of the women's prisons. So those are just some of the things that are taking place. Um, and some of the work that Represent Justice is doing, we're actually doing what we can today to actually help provide safety mechanisms for the people inside. We actually just got 20,000 masks into 7 different institutions. Um,
Mm.
so we're really, really, really excited about that. And we just got another 5,000 that are going to go and that are going to be going inside women's prisons. So again, we're really excited about that, but it's not enough. But
Right.
those are just some of the things that again we're doing with Represent Justice, and I'm sure there's a lot of other great organizations doing the work. But again, that's just something we're doing to actually show that we see the people inside of prison, right?
Mm.
They're not throwaways, right? We don't throw people away, right?
Mm.
We see that they are brothers, they're sisters, they're uncles, they're fathers. They're more than just that act. Very true. That act has to be addressed, and accountability and responsibility and developing remorse and changing all those things are a must, right?
Yeah.
But there's also that component to after people change, right? Or even in that process, how do we support them, right? How do we see ourselves in their journey towards um, being pro-social, right? We get it, there's a lot of anti-social people because they live in anti-social environments, right? But once a person changes, once we actually see that, especially during a pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's now we're now in a place where it's not just release prisons. It's not just release prisoners. It's we need to start that conversation so that we can come up with great ways, safe ways to safely release safe individuals back into our community so that we lower not only their chance of getting COVID-19, but our chances of getting COVID-19.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just because COVID-19 is taking place doesn't mean people are not going to get out of prison,
Right.
right? People are constantly getting out of prison, and if this is a place that is as infection as it is, which it clearly is, I think Longpark right now, 70% of the institution has COVID-19. 70%. I think it just came out. It was one of the most infectious places inside of our country, right? And I just think that we're in this time where we can do better than just locking people up
Mm,
and saying your crime has now become a death sentence because we're in a pandemic,
mm,
right?
mm,
And that's really what it's breaking down to. Um, someone someone steals a bike, steals a car, you know, they have a year left in prison, but coronavirus is here, right? Um, we're better than casting someone away to death for something as small as stealing a car, right? I think there's better ways to deal with those type of crimes, right? And then when we think about justice, I think about just mercy. You know, I loved you in that movie. I thought it one of my favorite movies.
thanks, Jared.
And I think about what that story represented
Mm,
when it came to proximity and humanity,
mm,
right? That's where we're at today with this pandemic. It's how do we tap into our humanity? How do we become approximate to each other so that we can address what's taking place, right? Yeah, true enough, we have to social distance, but social distancing doesn't mean that we disconnect from
mm,
who we are, right?
mm.
And who we are. I think as people, as Americans, we're people that care about vulnerable populations, right? The incarcerated population today is vulnerable, right? They have a ton of health issues, right? We have the largest population of octogenarians right here in California. There's more elderly people inside of our California prisons than anywhere else in the world, right? Governor Jerry Brown said this right before he left office. And it didn't really dawn on me, how impactful that actually was until coronavirus came up, and then
Mhm.
I remembered it because of the vulnerable populations that
Mm.
COVID-19 attacks, right? And yeah, I mean, I just think that we as people um, are supposed to not only connect to our humanity, but see the humanity in other people, and actually be willing to create ways that are more just than
Yeah.
just what is. It's so much more to it.
Yeah. So thank you for that. What can we do? What are the steps that, when we spoke on the phone, I do believe that the first step is proximity. And it's
Yeah,
those that are listening to this conversation right now and educating themselves, getting close to it first. It's the thing that Brian Stevenson always talks about so eloquently, is just you have to get really close to something in order to know it. And
yeah,
from his perspective, he's like, if you were seeing what I'm seeing and doing the work that I'm doing, it would be no question. Like, you would see the corruption that's happening, and you would question, do we have the right? Do we have the right to, as you're saying with this virus, give people a death sentence?
yeah,
Is that our right?
yeah,
So with that said, and keeping in mind that when we're talking about people incarcerated, we're talking about children, and we're talking about elderly people, we are talking about brothers, sisters, non-binary folks. We're talking about, families feeling like they are incarcerated as well because someone they love is away. Holding that, what are our next steps in order to participate humanely and help move forward with, whether that's the release, or you have this relief fund right now. What are some of those steps that we can do? Some that are uh, monetary, some, but not everybody has money to donate right now. So what are some of the other things that people can do?
So um, one of the things that we're encouraging people to do is contact their governors,
Mm-hmm.
their sheriffs. You can go to representjustice.org, and we have a toolkit set up for you to easily and simultaneously contact both of those officials, in
Mm-hmm.
addition to other officials, and urge them to actually safely de-incarcerate our institutions. Um, you can also donate, right? There's a emergency relief fund. Represent Justice again. We actually just gave 20,000 face masks, and we're now scheduled to give another 5,000 to the women's prison. So we're really excited about that. Um, and if you need any help, you can contact me right at Jarrett Harper SB9, and I'll help you. I'll walk you through, right? But I think those are the ways that people can actually help right from their home, to actually do something more than just letting this rampantly spread throughout throughout prison. There's also the campaign for the fair sentencing of youth. That organization is an organization that I'm really 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 passionate about. They supported me. Um, we are an organization that's structured around the understanding that children are different from adults, right? All the members of ICANN, at the fair sentencing for at the campaign for the fair sentencing of youth, all of them are youth. That they were youth just like myself. We all got life without the possibility of parole,
Mm-hmm.
as children, and now we're all leaders in our communities, um, stepping up, utilizing our experiences, and our stories to bring awareness to the things that are happening inside of our communities and the things that are happening inside the justice system that no longer work and that society is now aware of when it comes to making a change. So those are just some of the things that people can do, and we encourage people to reach out and do what you can.
Yeah. Thank you. Is there anything else that you'd love for people to know? Any misconceptions, or I don't know. I just feel like you have this opportunity here. You have people listening. Is there anything else that you would love to say?
People inside of our prison, again, their brothers, their sisters, their aunties, their fathers, their friends, their people, and they have the capacity to change, and a lot of them have changed, right?
Mm,
Um, I really just want people to know that, you know, for you to be safe, means that other people need to be safe, because we're now at a time where people in general, um, are 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 dangerous to each other when it comes to being in the same place and having high numbers of or heavily populated environments. Right?
mhm,
This is the time to now urge our stakeholders, our elected officials. This is the time to urge them to do something. We've provided them with power, executive power, and I think we're in a time now to actually encourage them to use it. Um, and I think this is one of those times in life where we can send a loud message to people in prison. You're not forgotten about, right? We know that a lot of times people, they commit crimes and they do things because they feel forgotten about.
mm,
During this pandemic, the last thing I think we want to do as a society is tell anyone that they're forgotten about, that they
mm,
don't matter. This is the time for us to all be connected and to see ourselves in each other and support one another in ways that are going to produce, um, just love and care for one another. I think that's really what we're talking about. We're
yeah,
talking about love and care and
mm,
mercy and mercy, right? We're asking for mercy.
mm,
That's what we're asking for when it comes to this pandemic. We're pleading and praying and hoping, provide our country, provide the world with mercy.
mm,
Well, people inside of prison are also part of the world. They also deserve mercy,
mhm,
you know. So that's what I want people to know.
mhm,
Please provide everyone with mercy.
Mm, thank you. Yeah, yeah. It,
Yeah.
I saw a question pop up. Someone was asking, is it possible to send letters of encouragement to uh, people that are incarcerated currently?
Uh, Absolutely. If you go to representjustice.org,
Oh,
um,
so it's there too. Great.
yes, so all you have to do is send us an email, and we will set you up with everything that you need to fully support in a way that you can actually do it, right? So if the ways that I listed, um, you can't do it that way, please reach out, and we love to have a discussion with you on how you want to support, and I'm pretty sure that 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 we can help anyone support this population.
Mm, thank you. Thank you, Jared. I so appreciate this conversation, and
Yeah,
I look forward to seeing the ripple effect of what happens now that I think, if you're listening, whether it's live or later, to feel sort of dropped into what this conversation is, and to just feel that and feel the reality of what we do when we decide that someone is more worthy of being alive than another, and just feel how that sits, how it's just against our nature, and where we work best and what we can do at this time, because in a time where everything feels like it's sort of coming unrooted and there's
yeah,
chaotic, and we're wading through all of these emotions and
mm,
fears, to just sit into that there is no other. We are in this together. We are
yes,
only as
mm,
strong as the weakest in our communities. And what an incredible opportunity we're being given to learn, to grow, to connect, and to show up for one another.
love it. Again, just you you're taking me back to our conversation the other day, and
Yeah.
one of the things when I got off the phone with you, I was thinking, you know, what what inspired you to actually take that role with Just Mercy? I mean, that movie really stuck out to me, not just because it was an innocent man. I was a guilty man, and that movie actually depicted mercy for
Mm.
guilty people. I was so guilt-ridden that I didn't think that I deserved mercy. So to see a movie depict mercy for everyone, it made me wonder what what inside of you made you tap into your own humanity to see that everyone deserves mercy.
What comes up when you say that is because I've made mistakes.
Mm,
And by the grace of God, I am sitting here in this chair in my house. But life is, life changes in an instant.
mm,
I struggled, one of the things I've struggled with my job is that getting to do what I love, and progressing, almost like going up my version of a corporate ladder, also means like fame and things that are kind of against what feels comfortable to me. And
mm,
so, as much as I fought that, I realized for myself that the thing that I can do with it that makes me feel like it's purposeful is to share humanity, to share the ways that I'm learning to unother.
mm,
And we talked about this on the phone a little bit. I When I did short term 12 with Destin, I didn't know about the foster care facility. I didn't know what was happening. And in order to really get under that role, I shadowed at a facility and I saw what was happening. And I just felt this burning desire in me to go, this is something that I can do. I can
yeah,
also donate. I can also um, protest. I can also volunteer, which I do. But I can also put it in my art that ends up being in more places than I can be physically. And I watched the effect of taking that film all over the world and having people come up to me afterwards tears streaming down their face saying, I didn't know. Thank you for telling me. And I want to, I want to adopt a child, or um, I want to help fix the system, or many people who said, I'm going to become a social worker because of this. So
Wow.
when you start to see the power that art can have, there's just, to me, there's just nothing else. It
Wow.
makes it very clear for me as to what I feel is of value. So if something I'm making exists beyond me, I don't have control over where it grows. I don't know who sees it, but the energy that's impacted in it travels. Then what is that? What is that thing that's being sort of packaged and put out? So it's been really important to me for others to see what it's like, and to be in someone else's shoes. And it
Mm.
was an absolute pleasure to spend so much time with Brian Stevenson and tell his story, and starting with his book and then having conversations with him. And we still talk from time to time. And every time I speak with him, I'm just filled with energy. I'm
Mm.
filled with purpose, because I feel like he's doing something that's so powerful, and I want to be there and support that, because I do believe that we're human beings, and we are not the worst thing that we've ever done.
Absolutely not. I mean, I'm forever grateful. I mean, just to hear you, you know, talk about, your empathy, placing yourself in someone else's shoes.
Mm,
Um, it really just churns this level of gratitude, to actually hear it and see it. So
mm.
thank you
Thank you so much.
yeah,
No, just appreciated talking with you so much. And after we spoke on the phone too, I just like had to take some time and just sit in silence for a little bit and just absorb it all, because it's and I don't know if other people who are watching the conversation feel this way too, but it can feel overwhelming to feel the pain and to recognize how many people feel forgotten right now. And I can do what I can do, and I will do, I will do what is in my control and what I can move forward. And I
mm,
hope that there's others out there that will join me. Um, so, as a reminder, uh, there is a relief fund that you can donate to. That relief fund is helping give masks and sanitation equipment to those who are incarcerated and the staff. There's it's also very important to call your governor or your sheriffs if you have the ability to do that, and tell them what is of value to you, because these are people that are there to support you, their constituents. So
yes,
be proud to say what it is that matters to you. Um, and let's take this opportunity. Let's take this opportunity to um, build a community that's there to truly support and care for one another.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank,
Jared. We'll speak
thank
soon.
soon. You take care.
Thank you. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Whoa. Okay. Thank you again for everyone who tuned in. Um, if you feel up to it, please share this with as many people as you can. Um, let's continue to have these conversations, and my heart feels open, and I feel a connectivity to all of you and to those that I don't know that feel forgotten right now. And so much love to all of you. I hope that you're staying safe, your families, friends, your heart is safe, your mind is safe. Um, I'm going to post this. Uh, as always, if you have ideas for further conversations, I'm really open to suggestions. Okay, thank you.